This time, a politician walked into Judge Caprio's courtroom wearing a suit more expensive than most people's cars. He had promised his voters better roads and pledged to serve his community. But this man was stealing the tax money of his poor constituents to fund his own luxurious lifestyle. This isn't just a typical corruption story. It's the story of an arrogant fraud who received one of the most legendary justice lessons ever captured on television. This man, named Marcus Thorne, had convinced the entire city that he was fighting for working families. But in reality, he was using city employees and trucks, literally as his own personal construction crew to renovate his million-dollar home. His neighbors watched as the same workers who were supposed to repair the potholes on their street every weekend were instead working inside his house. When one brave neighbor finally reported the situation, months of systematic theft were uncovered, corruption so deep it made an average political scandal look like spare change. But that wasn't what truly ended Marcus. What destroyed him was the sheer arrogance he displayed when Judge Caprio placed photographic evidence of his crimes in front of him. This self-absorbed conman actually tried to convince the court that his theft was a public service. How? By saying, "My beautiful home increases property values," and he even defended that statement. What followed was one of the most precise and unforgettable justice lessons ever delivered by Judge Caprio. The judge sentenced this suited fraud not to learn with his mouth, but with his hands, what real work actually means. If you've listened this far, I strongly recommend you stay until the end of this story, because the punishment he received is the kind of justice that will restore your faith in the system. So hit the like button, sit back, and enjoy this story. Last Tuesday morning, Riverside Drive was unusually busy. A Providence city truck was parked in Marcus Thorne's driveway. It wouldn't have been strange if the crew wasn't unloading expensive kitchen materials for his home instead of fixing public infrastructure. The operation had been running smoothly for months. Friday afternoons mysteriously turned into urgent weekend projects at the city councilman's private residence. Patricia Hendricks was the first to notice the pattern. The same truck that took 3 weeks to fill a pothole on her street somehow managed to deliver granite slabs to the politician's home every Saturday morning. Her call to the city ethics investigators triggered a surveillance operation that documented the full scope of Marcus's plan. "I'd like to report suspicious activity. It appears our city councilman is using municipal resources for personal construction work." Within hours, investigators installed cameras to record the operation. The photos showed Marcus directing the work like a contractor, while city employees installed luxury fixtures inside his house. The evidence painted a clear picture: 8 months of systematic theft of public resources, resulting in over $22,000 in unauthorized labor and equipment costs to the taxpayer. Wednesday morning brought Marcus to Judge Frank Caprio's courtroom for the performance of his political life. He entered like a candidate working the room at a fundraiser. Handshakes for court staff, eye contact with spectators, and that practiced smile that had won him 3 elections. Judge Caprio acknowledged him with characteristic professionalism. "Good morning, Councilman Thorne." Marcus responded like he was addressing constituents instead of facing criminal charges. "Good morning, Your Honor." "Your Honor, I appreciate the opportunity to clarify this unfortunate misunderstanding before such a respected member of our judicial community. Even under indictment," he campaigned, Judge Caprio maintained judicial dignity despite the obvious charm offensive. "Councilman Thorne, you face charges of theft, misuse of public property, and corruption in office. These allegations could result in removal from office and significant penalties. How do you respond?" Marcus delivered his defense like a stump speech. "Your Honor, what we're really discussing here is a fundamental misunderstanding about effective governance and community leadership. Rather than theft, I facilitated strategic resource management that ultimately strengthens our entire district." Spectators shifted uncomfortably as he attempted to reframe criminal behavior as public policy innovation. Judge Caprio pressed for specifics. "Councilman Thorne, investigators documented you directing city employees to install personal kitchen renovations during taxpayer-funded overtime hours. Explain how luxury home improvements constitute strategic resource management. Marcus pivoted seamlessly into campaign mode. Your Honor, effective representation requires maintaining certain community standards. When district leaders demonstrate visible success through well-maintained properties, it elevates the entire neighborhood, property values increase, economic development follows, and everyone benefits from enhanced community prestige. So personal enrichment through public theft improves the district. I prefer viewing it as community investment with compound returns, Marcus replied without hesitation. Those municipal employees gained valuable experience working with premium materials and advanced construction techniques. Skills they'll apply to future city projects, improving our overall infrastructure quality. Judge Caprio reviewed the detailed investigation file. City records document $15,000 in unauthorized overtime payments for work performed at your residence. Municipal vehicles transported your personal construction materials. How does this benefit taxpayers? Marcus maintained his political persona despite mounting evidence. Your Honor, leadership visibility drives economic confidence. When voters observe their representatives living in beautifully maintained homes, it demonstrates effective fiscal management and attracts further investment to our community. Subscribe to Judge Stories if you believe politicians should follow the same laws they expect citizens to obey. Judge Caprio prepared to present the investigation's findings. Councilman Thorne, city investigators documented your activities across multiple weekends. We have photographs, employee testimony, and timesheet records proving systematic misuse of municipal resources. Are you prepared to review this evidence? Marcus's confidence remained unshaken. Absolutely, Your Honor. I believe that documentation will completely vindicate my position and demonstrate collaborative leadership in action. Very well. Let's examine what investigators actually discovered. Courtroom monitors displayed the images that would end Marcus's political career. High-resolution photographs showed city maintenance trucks loaded with expensive materials parked in his driveway. Municipal employees carried custom cabinets through his front door, while Marcus supervised the installation wearing weekend clothes instead of his usual political uniform. Time-stamped documentation revealed the systematic nature of his operation. Saturday morning arrivals at 7 a.m. Overtime clock-ins for emergency municipal projects that somehow required granite countertop installation. Cash payments to crew supervisors for discretion about the arrangement. The most damaging photograph captured Marcus shaking hands with the work crew while handing over an envelope, presumably payment for their silence about the scheme. Investigation records proved the scope of his corruption. 8 consecutive months of weekend theft. $22,000 in taxpayer costs. Systematic deception of municipal employees who believed they were performing legitimate city work. Judge Caprio allowed the evidence to speak before continuing. Councilman Thorne, you've observed documented proof of systematic theft from city resources for personal benefit. How do you explain this behavior? Marcus maintained his political composure despite overwhelming evidence. Your Honor, those images demonstrate exactly what I've been describing. Innovative collaboration between municipal leadership and city employees to maximize resource efficiency while enhancing community development. Resource efficiency? You stole public property for private gain. I facilitated cross-training opportunities for city workers while implementing neighborhood improvement initiatives. Marcus countered with practiced deflection. Every dollar invested in community leadership generates measurable returns through increased property values and economic development. Judge Caprio called Supervisor Chen to testify about the investigation's findings. Supervisor Chen, please describe what your investigation uncovered about Councilman Thorne's activities. Supervisor Chen approached with obvious professionalism. Your Honor, we documented systematic theft spanning 8 months. Councilman Thorne routinely contacted work crews Friday afternoons claiming emergency weekend assignments, then directed those employees to his private residence for personal construction projects. How did city employees respond to these arrangements? Several workers expressed concern about the assignments, but Councilman Thorne assured them this was legitimate, municipal business related to community development grants. What was the total cost to taxpayers? Over $22,000 in unauthorized overtime payments, plus equipment usage and fuel costs for personal transportation of construction materials. Judge Caprio acknowledged the testimony before addressing Marcus again. Councilman Thorne, you've heard evidence describing systematic deception of municipal employees and theft of public resources. Do you wish to respond? Marcus made his fatal error. Instead of accepting responsibility, he doubled down with the political arrogance that defines corrupt entitlement. Your Honor, I think we're missing the forest for the trees here. Yes, I utilized city resources for my home renovation, but that investment generated measurable community benefits. Property values in my neighborhood increased 15% following the improvements. Economic development follows visible success. He actually retrieved campaign literature from his jacket pocket. I have documentation demonstrating how my property improvements attracted new businesses and increased municipal tax revenue. Judge Caprio cut through his campaign pitch with judicial authority. Councilman Thorne, put those materials away. This is a criminal proceeding, not a political rally. Your Honor, I'm simply demonstrating the broader economic impact of strategic leadership investments. Effective governance sometimes requires innovative approaches to resource allocation. Innovation, you committed theft and fraud. I implemented public-private partnerships that benefit the entire community, Marcus insisted, still addressing the court like a campaign audience instead of a criminal defendant. Judge Caprio rose slowly, commanding immediate attention. Councilman Thorne, you've displayed the exact corruption and entitlement that destroys citizens' faith in government. You stole from taxpayers, deceived municipal employees, and now attempt to justify criminal behavior as community service. Marcus realized his charm strategy had failed, but continued defending his actions. Your Honor, I've dedicated my career to public service. One administrative oversight regarding resource allocation shouldn't overshadow years of community leadership. Judge Caprio's response eliminated any remaining ambiguity. Councilman Thorne, administrative oversight. You systematically stole public resources while lying to the employees and taxpayers you swore to serve. Your punishment will reflect that betrayal. For theft of public property exceeding $20,000, I'm imposing a $50,000 fine. Marcus absorbed the financial penalty without visible concern, money he could easily pay. For corruption in office, an additional $25,000 fine and immediate suspension from your council position. Now Marcus showed alarm as his political career dissolved in real time. However, since you claim expertise in public service, you'll learn what community work actually involves. Judge Caprio delivered his most devastating sentence: 500 hours of community service performing manual labor at Riverside Park, the city's most neglected public space. Marcus stared in disbelief. Manual labor? Your Honor, I maintain community responsibilities and professional obligations. You maintained responsibilities. Councilman Thorne, now you maintain park facilities. Every Saturday and Sunday at 6 a.m., you'll report for groundskeeping, trash removal, and facility maintenance. Real public service alongside community volunteers and city maintenance crews. 6 a.m. weekends? Your Honor, that conflicts with my political schedule and campaign obligations. Judge Caprio destroyed his remaining dignity. Your political schedule ended when you chose theft over service. Councilman Thorne, since you believe expensive clothing reflects leadership quality, you'll perform this service wearing standard municipal work gear. No suits, no political image management, no campaign photo opportunities. I refuse. This amounts to political persecution designed to end my career. Judge Caprio's final words sealed Marcus's fate. Councilman Thorne, you ended your own career by choosing corruption over integrity. Complete this sentence or serve 18 months in state prison. As court officers prepared his escort, Judge Caprio offered closing remarks. Councilman Thorne, you entered believing political popularity provided criminal immunity. You're leaving with understanding that authentic public service means serving citizens, not exploiting them for personal benefit. 6 months later, Riverside Park's Community Cleanup Day found Marcus working alongside genuine volunteers removing graffiti and planting flower beds. When the event concluded, he approached Supervisor Chen, who'd become an unexpected mentor during his sentence. Supervisor Chen. I wanted to express gratitude for teaching me what public service actually requires. I apologize for the time it took me to understand. Across the park, former constituents observed their fallen representative with mixed disappointment and grudging respect for his apparent commitment to making amends. Sometimes the most valuable political education comes from losing everything you thought politics was to provide. If you enjoyed this story, you can support me by liking it and subscribing to my channel if you haven't already, my loyal viewers. If you enjoy stories like this, you can check out the other videos on my channel. See you in the next video. Stay healthy.